you go into one of the devices again?
This is a haunted mansion. What the was that?
It was built on a burial ground.
The supernatural exists,
They're here.
just out of our reach.
Was that you?
If I had hair, it would all be standing up right now.
A sound down the hall in an empty room.
You have our attention.
Anybody want to join us? Yeah.
Oh, what's up, man?
I've always been interested in paranormal activity.
Its movement in the corner of your eye.
Holy somebody moved down here, I swear to God.
We don't have the answers.
That was right behind you, Jay.
All we can do is ask the questions.
I've never seen anything like it in my life.
It's a life-changing experience.
And trust our skills, our experience, and each other.
Opinions, viewpoints, and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Scarefest Radio, the radio you can see.
And hello and good evening, everyone, and welcome to Scarefest Television, the original broadcast date, March 15th, 2024, in the lead up to Scarefest 16. Tonight, our special guest, let's do the guest first, since I've already fucked it up over here. Steve Gonsalves is our special guest tonight. I think, I'm trying to remember, I've interviewed you on Paranormal Filler, my old podcast. I do not remember if I've had you on Scarefest TV before.
I don't think so. I think this is a first for me.
So
here I am.
So there, it's like a premiere. Our co-host tonight is the lovely and talented Katie Followell. That's the best you can do. Hey.
Yeah, it's been a rough day.
Give me some energy, woman. Anyway, everybody, let's we got 3 celebrity announcements tonight. We are live on Instagram. I just checked. I think last time I was live on Instagram, I think I had my voice muted on the first segment. But anyway, that's all right. We fixed that. Everything should work tonight. So if you're on Instagram, we welcome you. And Joe Lewis will be reviewing Gravity Falls. So that's what we got going on tonight on the show. Now, Steve, welcome. I'm a big fan of you as a person. You are always so nice. It's almost scary nice.
Thank you.
Now let's.
Thank you.
Oh, you think that was bad? Wait till I get to the elephant in the room. Tell me about your skin, fair dude. You have the most beautiful fucking skin of any human being I've ever seen. It is like a baby's butt.
Oh God. Thank you. I appreciate that. Ever since I was young, my mom always said, lotion, sun, you'll thank me someday. And maybe that has something to do with it. Who knows? But if you look close, there's some rough spots.
It would. Okay, you're since you're not female, I'm gonna feel comfortable asking this. How old are you?
47.
See, look at you. You look 30, dude.
Thank you.
That's his fucking
I appreciate
scary.
it.
Anyway, I actually until I heard about your skincare regimen, I was convinced like you were sacrificing babies or something. I had no idea. Well, I mean, yeah, you can't stay 30 forever, can you?
Yeah, someday I'm gonna need something. Might as well start with baby blood. God.
Now one thing I do, and this is gonna be a total softball question. You all started like what 2000? When did Ghost Hunters come out?
Our first episode was 2004.
Okay.
We started. Yeah.
So you went from Ghost Hunter, and then somewhere in the mix you threw in Ghost Hunters Academy. Then you did Ghost Nation. Then you came back with Ghost Hunters. What do you consider the secret for your longevity in the genre?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think there are a lot of things. First of all, I would say being, one of the first of that kind of show, we, I think that definitely helps. People remember us sort of, and they would watch all the time, and they really liked our personalities, and they could really tell that we were all really friends and not just, a bunch of people who just happened to start investigating and had no, friendship besides that. And also, I think that the way we investigate, we always want it to be a ghost, that's for sure. And the fact that we try to get to the bottom of things, we look for the real world answers. We don't just assume it's always a ghost. And I think a lot of the people who, didn't really either know what we did happened. A lot of people didn't even know that there were people out there who investigated the paranormal. I think, and a lot of people who were sort of on the fence of thinking that it was weird or really cool, liked the way that we investigated and said, if I were to do it, I would do that too. Maybe that is the wind. Maybe it is that. And I think all of those things, and of course having such a, we really did have a really great team. Jason obviously is someone who pushed us all in the beginning to really look beyond it just being a ghost. Hey, are you sure that's not the pipes or the house settling, or let's really figure this out. And he was somebody that always encouraged us to push an extra step, and I think that was important. But I think that would have a lot to do with it, all those things, sort of.
I'll give you credit in that it was your show most single-handedly that got me interested into the paranormal. Now, in full disclosure on that, sometimes I was sitting in my chair yelling at you, going, no, it doesn't mean that. That's not what it means at all. But that being said, I did love the investigating style. It came across as very, very sincere. And I remember back in your early days, that was one of the big questions going around whatever social media was applied to the paranormal TV shows is your investigating style more like Ghost Hunters or Ghost Adventures? Because they were two very, very different things. But to kind of give you a little quick follow-up, how much, I know in the early days, and some of this I'm sure was, I don't want to say put on for TV, but I know sometimes TV producers want you to kind of take your conversation and spike it up a little bit. Not talking about the investigation, the conversations. But one of the things I remember was Jason absolutely refusing to label any place haunted. And you all pushing, that was kind of haunted, dude. First of all, I want to ask, how has your views on the paranormal? Have they evolved? Have they changed since 2004? Where have you kind of taken your spiritual journey?
I think, I personally, I'm a stronger believer now than I think I was back then. I definitely raised an eyebrow a lot more back then than I do now. I've seen a lot more and experienced a lot more, and I'm open to a lot of different experiences now than I say I was back then. So I definitely am more of a believer now in the paranormal and even in spirituality and the fact that there is something beyond this world. So I think personally, I'm more of a believer now than I was back then. I still believed back then for sure. But most investigators that I know, always investigate with a question mark, But now that I've seen certain things continuously and experienced things continuously over time, I tend to realize that there is something there happening.
Katie, over to you.
I want to clarify my energy level is because I'm trying to look cool. Okay. So I'm the same as Wes. I started.
Ramp it up.
It'll come up. But I started ghost hunting because of we didn't have cable, so went to Sam Goody and bought the Ghost Hunters DVDs. And I remember seeing the St. Augustine Lighthouse episode, and it blew my fucking mind. And like, I needed to know, because you guys seem so excited. Like I had experienced that. So thank you for doing that for people like me. And I love that your show always taught people how to debunk too. Is that like, you guys gave us the tools to watch the other shows and be like, that's bullshit. So thank you. It's very good. What made you start becoming interested in the paranormal?
For me, I was kind of, intrigued when I was very young. Like, that seemed so cool. And then, through actually a movie called The Entity and a few other things that I watched when I was younger, I said, geez, this is a bit scary. And then I started reading books about it, but I started reading books about investigating it, not the stories, not the the accounts of the paranormal, but the how-to, what's happening, the science behind it, if there is any actual science behind it. And that really showed me that, I can get to the bottom of this, and maybe if I can understand it, it won't be so scary, or maybe I can be one of those people who are going towards it and trying to figure it out. And I just kept going with that, and by the time I was old enough to realize I could experience it in a different way, I was going to see different people speak about it. Ed and Lorraine Warren, and saw them speak a bunch of times. Yeah, that was quite awesome. And then all of a sudden I could drive myself, not have my parents, drop me off. And then I started going everywhere. But yeah, at a young age for me, it was kind of a bit of fear, and then it turned into intrigue. I'm not one of those investigators that, had this crazy experience that sent me on this journey. For me, it was all of that.
I always feel silly because people are like, well, what made you get interested in the paranormal? And I was like, ghost hunters. I'm just going to tell y'all right now. So I think it's actually coming up on the first quarter of the hour. So I think it's time to cut to commercial. Welcome back. I have a few more questions for Steve, and some of them are from my mom, who sent me a whole list. One of them is that she wanted to know, did your mom stay nervous while you were driving around going laying in graveyards and stuff like that? Because my mom can't stand that I do that, even now.
I think in the beginning, maybe a little, but I didn't always tell them, hey, guess where I'm going? I'm just, hey, I'm going out. I'll see you guys later. But sometimes I do remember being like, hey, it's 3 a.m. Where you been? They always wanted to know where I was going and who I was going with and what I'd be up to. Excuse me. Especially in the days, before cell phones, if you can believe it. What did parents do? How did they get in touch? They had to rely on you. You better call me, you son of a gun.
Well, truthfully, my mom, I do it now just to mess with her. As I'll be like, "Hey, I'm in this abandoned tower in the middle of downtown Louisville. Have fun." Like, she does.
Yeah. Be careful. Be careful.
She wanted to know too. Did your parents? Did they believe in the paranormal? Did they go ghost hunting with you like Bruce went with Dave?
No. My parents. I mean, my mom does believe in that sort of thing, and my dad not so much, but my mom does. But we never investigated together or anything like that. They sort of, I guess, left that up to me. Yeah, and
yeah. Now the pressure's on you. Now you have to bring her in the next season. So, one question she had too is she wanted to know. Do you still get to investigate just for fun anymore? Like not on a TV show where there's the pressure of filming and reacting and stuff.
I could for sure, yeah. I don't very often, only because when we are, working, I guess you'd say, it is, for a long stretch of time. And so when we have, a little bit of time off, it's not usually something but there are times when, I do go and investigate, or I find myself at events where we're investigating with people. But for the most part, I tend to investigate mostly, with the show or with a team that may, need some extra encouragement or help. But I'm not out there in houses and stuff myself.
Well, over to Wes.
Good talk.
Okay. It's like a news.
Now, one thing I want to know. One thing I felt that I felt that as I was in the paranormal field longer, I felt like I was more. I don't even want to say tuned to it. I felt like it became more of a part of me. I became more sensitive to it. Have you experienced that?
Yeah, I think so. And for me, I think it's not that I have any sense of anything happening, but I think like anything over time, when there is, you just become familiar with what is happening while something is. You can definitely, once you've had enough experiences, I think there's something in the air, if you will, like, ooh, wait a second, this kind of feels like last time, whether that was a couple of years ago or whatnot. But sadly for me, nothing that says, there's something happening, something paranormal in here. There's an event in here. But I will say that I think we all become a little more accustomed how to tune into energy in the environment around us. There is a term for it called the primal gaze detection. And that's just our body's way of feeling energy around us. And it goes back to, when we had to hunt for food and we're, trying to kill an animal, we have to make sure that there's nothing coming up behind us to kill us. And so it's something that's built into us and is still there to some degree. And I think that is more of what I'm probably tuning into, like, oh, there's an energy in this room and it's moving, because I can sort of sense it, but what is it? Where is it? Who knows? I don't.
Now, I'm going to give you a follow-up based on my own experience. The first time I saw a full-body apparition, I walked past the son of a bitch. It was at Waverly Hills, and I was walking down the hallway setting up equipment, and there was a guy standing in that room to my left. And I went, wait, that was something. And I ran back, of course, it was gone. Have you ever done something really boneheaded like that, where you're just convinced you missed the end-all be-all of paranormal?
Yeah. There have been times for sure where, Jay and I or Tango and I or whoever have been, should we go right or left? We go left, and, behind us we hear two doors slam and footsteps and all that. And we're like, oh, that definitely happens. And there's been times when, I've missed capturing evidence because I'm just really trying to see what's happening. There's one time I can remember where I'm just looking at it and experience, and Tango actually like elbows me and then lifts my arm and the camera up towards the, what's happening. I'm like, oh yeah, thanks. So that was a boneheaded, or you walk into a place and you hear a yell or a scream or a voice saying something, but you didn't get the recorder on yet. So that's always a bummer too. Tango actually, as soon as he jumps out of that van, he presses record and doesn't even wait for anything to happen. I think a lot of investigators are that way, but I wasn't until too many times of missing things. And evidence, you don't have to have evidence. It's still a great experience, but you really, it's just important to back up what's happening and really documenting it and being able to review it is really a better way to try and understand what's happening than relying on your visual or audible account.
Now, you did mention earlier that you read books growing up. Whether it was something you read early or something you've read even recently, other than your own book that we will get to, what book can you recommend a book to people?
Reference right now.
Do you have a book that you would recommend people read if they're even remotely interested in the paranormal?
Yeah. There are a lot of great books out there. When I was younger, books, weren't out yet by, Jason or Amy or anybody, myself, or, so those obviously weren't an option, but they are, all of the books that we have out are different accounts of what we go through and all really quite interesting. But for me, there are a few books I always tell people they should get. One is ESP Hauntings and Poltergeists, Parapsychologist's Handbook or Guidebook, and that's by Lloyd Auerbach. That book is amazing. I still have it right here. This is my copy from when I was a youngster. But this book really is fantastic and gives anybody a nice sort of layout. There's one that's a real easy sort of simplified book that you can get your hands on by a gentleman named Troy Taylor, and I believe it's just called the Ghost Hunter's Handbook. It's a very sort of simplistic on purpose, to give you hey, this is what this tool kind of means, and here's what the leading, Dustin has some great books out there, but ESP Hauntings, Poltergeists is, I think, the go-to. Obviously, everybody knows Hans Holzer, and some of the Warrens books are great. The Demonologist is one that I think Poltergeist by William G. Roll is another one, which I do have here somewhere.
Yeah, I can already tell you read more than I do.
This book is awesome. I was very fortunate to work with Dr. William G. Roll, and this book is awesome. He sort of is who pioneered telekinesis, psychokinesis, and the whole EMF correlation. But these two books, I think, are the ones. Yeah.
I have to reference something from your book right now because I'm a big fan of it. And you talk about Bucksteep Manor in the end of your book. Did you get any evidence from that? Because that experience sounds insane.
No evidence, unfortunately. It was really, really crazy. And, but, Tango and I, we kind of talk about it sometimes, and it's almost like such a bonded experience we have together. It's kind of like a little club only he and I have, because nobody else was there, nothing's happening, and we're just kind of like, can you believe that happened to us? Oh my gosh. And we were there to get evidence. We had the whole DVR set up, we had audio recording, and this was after we broke everything down and put it in the van. And I think every investigator struggles with this. Do we go get equipment, because when we get back, what if it's not happening anymore?
Yeah.
You know, or do we stay here and experience this? You know, and we chose to stay. And I hate to say this because it you know is a you know just something, but I hear a lot of people nowadays say, well, why wouldn't you just take your cell phone out? Like, we had a sidekick like back then. Like, you don't just pull a camera out and start recording. Like, it's much more involved than that. And even what you get is just a grainy garbage. But I think that was in 2005. You know, we were still using flip phones. But yeah, unfortunately, nothing from that. But that place is awesome. Sadly, it's all boarded up. You see, there's pictures of it in the book. I took those myself. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say snuck on the property, but I parachuted in. And just kidding, I did not parachute. But I did walk there and take some pictures because I wanted to show how awesome the place was.
It was like, honestly, that was one of my favorite chapters in your book. If you guys are big readers, I'm going to say this. I got a job at a library this week, so I'm very excited about that. Yeah.
Congratulations.
I have read all of the Taps books that have ever been released ever, pretty much. And I actually was most excited to hear your story. So if you guys are big readers, highly recommend this book. Go buy it. Super good.
Thanks. Good tune. You need a hype one. Thank you.
Your book is better than everybody else's. I'm not.
Don't say that.
I said it. It's my personal opinion.
No. There's a lot of great books out there.
There are. I like yours though. So.
You're very nice. Thank you. Thank you. It's a bit different than some of the others that are out there. And
you have a really good mix of technique mixed with story. So just as an investigator, I appreciated that because, like, I don't know. I also, like, I saw a lot of the episodes of Ghost Hunters. I know what happened. So to hear your kind of behind the scenes take and experience was just cool to me. So I liked it.
Thanks. Yeah. I wanted to show a little bit of a deeper look at some of the things, that we experience while we're investigating. And because even though there are cameras there, we really are investigating. So whether there are cameras there or not, we're still doing what we would be doing and what we did before. So to just go deeper into what investigators think, shows, oh, let's do this, but it doesn't, really show why we decided to do that, what brought us to that decision, how do we as a team unravel the mystery and get to the bottom of the history. You can't just go to a place and rely on what they're telling you. Oral history is a lot of times, quite honestly, garbage. They believe what they're saying, so they're not lying to you, but when you really dig into the actual history, you find sometimes that they're quite wrong, and it's never a bad thing. The clients are always excited when you tell them that, oh, that's what really happened here. Yeah. And we have a newspaper article to show you. And they go, wow, that's so cool. So it's never a bad thing. It's cool. And, research can be a bit of a pickle. There are a lot of investigators, even, some investigators I work with who I love and trust deeply, who, won't at all read or get any of the history because they don't want to be sort of they want to go in completely unbiased, and then there are people who do like to know a lot of the history beforehand. I think no matter when you decide during your investigation to get the history, it's as long as you get the factual history, that's all that matters.
I completely understand. I think you guys should make like a documentary on how you guys film an episode of Ghost Hunters, because you guys, how long does it take you all to, when you all go to Waverly Hills, it may show 2 nights, but you all are there for way longer than that, right?
Yeah, it's always different. When we're doing a private residence, it also depends on the homeowners.
True.
And not quite honestly, not everybody wants to leave their house for 2, 3, or 4 weeks, and but you're absolutely right. There are times when we are at a location for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month, and sometimes a week or 2, later on, once we sort of were able to have a bigger influence on the way the show is put together, and we were able to stretch out our investigation time to quite a bit, and that was really important. And that's one of the nice things about being producers. Jenny and I, we could really influence that and say, hey, we need 2 weeks at this place. We need 3 weeks at this place, and to every network and production companies, credit, they never said, oh, that's baloney. They all said, okay, whatever you need. But until, we're at places for quite some time, and sometimes not as long. It really is a case by case, as they would say.
Interesting. I think it's come up on the half-hour mark, and I'm very excited to see who the guest announcements are this week.
We'll be right back.
Are you a fan of horror movies, books, comics, music, and collectibles? Rue Morgue magazine is for you. Subscribe today to receive 6 or 12 print issues annually and join me, executive editor Andrea Subissati, on an ongoing journey through the horror genre of the past, present, and future. Plus, get access to unmissable special editions such as A Century of Witches, 50 Years of Gore Cinema, British horror movies, and so much more. Rue Morgue, the world's premier horror and culture and entertainment magazine since 1997. Accept no substitute.
And our first announcement of the evening, Amanda Bierce. Yes, another Fright Night alumni coming to Scarefest 2024. Follow that up. Well, let's just keep piling on. Jonathan Stark. Jonathan Stark will be coming this year. Fright Night. House 2, the second story. Why do all of our guests that have been in one of the House movies, it's always the second one? Have we ever had anybody from the House 1? So anyway, Fright Night, yes, Jonathan Stark. And of course, you knew he was coming because Steve's coming. Dave Tango will be joining us this year. This is your official announcement using an approved image that Steve sent me because I let Brandon script the first one. Anyway, Dave Tango. Now, on with the business part. Staff. If you want to volunteer to work at the Scarefest 2024, go on scarefestweekend.com and select the volunteer link, and you could be added to our staff. It just means that you get to come to the con and get into the gears, the workings, the inner workings. Also, we're taking speaker applications. If you're an expert or an authority, or you just like talking about something, we have speaker applications open. Go to scarefestweekend.com. And also the Horror Film Festival. I have not logged in this week. I do not know how far behind I am on judging, but Scarefest Horror Film Festival is taking submission. Make sure all of your filmmaker friends know. Now, while we're talking about films, if you think you might be just kind of an amateur filmmaker, you can win up to a golden pass to Scarefest Weekend. If we get one that we think is the best of the month, we'll give you a Weekend Plus pass. If we just use your video, you'll get a Weekend Pass. If we use your script, if you can't film it and you just want to write us a really good idea and we film it and put it on, we will give you your choice of a day pass just for using your script. But if your video goes viral, that's where the golden VIP pass comes in. Now, I do want to give a shout out to Barbara Jane because she has sponsored me for the Lions Club for Sight, my first 5K of 2024. Yes, the guy you watch smoke on this show for 10 years is going to run another 5K this spring just because I'm a glutton for punishment. Also, I'm up to 52 people, 52 members on my Patreon project. Now that means, you know what that means? That means that, yes, I will be cutting off my shirt live on air before I go to FrankenCon. And at FrankenCon, I am going to do that cosplay because that dude in that picture is appearing that weekend. And now, as a little added bonus, if you want to join my Patreon project, we're not there yet. If I get 100 subscribers, and you can subscribe for as little as $1 a month, I will do it at Scarefest with that tramp stamp. Not that tramp stamp, but a tramp stamp. I will get a tramp stamp. Temporary tattoo, but I will do it. So go to patreon.com /Scarefest Radio. And if you use TikTok, hey, check out our channel. The Best of Scarefest TV is on TikTok at the official Scarefest. Now, back to our guest tonight, Mr. Steve Gonsalves. Chat room has been a buzz tonight, so I'm gonna get some of those in too. This one, I know you've been asked this on every goddamn podcast you've ever been on. What is your favorite piece of equipment? And has it changed?
I think, a little spin on that question.
Well, I got to do something to make it worth watching.
I think an infrared camera is my favorite piece of equipment.
That kind of surprises me.
Yeah.
Has it always been since you got hold of one of those? I mean, did you fall in love with it at first sight?
Well, I like full spectrum also, but I think if you have an infrared camera, you're able to record everything in the visible spectrum, but also you're able to also record anything in the infrared spectrum now. So you're getting another layer of possible evidence there, and also you're recording audio at the same time. If there was a way, I'd stick with that. I think infrared or full spectrum camera. Full spectrum, it's not necessarily a full, but as many as they, know how to jam into a camera.
See, okay, I actually have used these things. The worst thing about a full spectrum camera is most of the people that use them don't understand when you open up, the cameras are not really made for that. So you have to hold them that'd be on a tripod. And I've seen some really shitty full spectrum photography and video because you can tell it's on little handhelds and they're going like this. And yes, you will see images in mirrors that look like Satan himself, but it's, but full spectrum where it catches all the way from the UV to infrared, and the wave, you get into a whole lot of stuff with the wavelengths of light and how far the depth of field is on different wavelengths. So I would say I agree with you. I love those type of cameras. The old Sony's infrareds, those are still my favorite because you could see through people's clothes with those things.
Right? Yeah. That's no joke. We during season 1 of Ghost Hunters, we had those exact cameras, and the production company called them all back. They said, "You guys can't use those. You need to destroy them." And we had to turn them in so they could watch us just make sure they're actually destroyed.
Oh wow! I'm sitting on about 4 of them bitches. Am I rich, or am I going to jail?
Maybe. And it was true. You could. I mean, you couldn't necessarily see through clothes, but you could definitely see a pretty dang good outline.
You could see through certain shades of clothing.
Yeah, that's a little ridiculous. And quite honestly, nobody needs that kind of camera, So get it out.
Not
of
at my age now, but back then it was pretty cool.
No, not even back then. We were terrified. We're like, we don't want every girl we knew was like a sister to us. We didn't want to record through their clothes. God have mercy.
Now, okay, this could be a broad question because honestly, I'm not familiar with it. The House in Between. You directed, you produced The House in Between. I guess there's 2 of them, part 1 and part 2, right?
Yes.
What the hell is it? Tell me what The House in Between was all about. If you were selling this movie, tell me the sales pitch on it.
Whoa. Well, The House in Between, it is a documentary, and I directed it, I produced it. My buddy and Ghost Hunters, the original Ghost Hunters director of photography, Kendall, also directed it and produced it, and we had that. To me, I met the folks there first, the house that this documentary is based on, and when they told me that it was, basically a 10-year study where the woman was so terrified, this wonderful lady named Alice, and gave her house over to paranormal investigators for 10 years to study it and try to figure out what was going on there. I saw how the investigators came together to really help this woman. She was so terrified that she literally moved out, but she always wanted to know what happened, and she was afraid if she sold the house, she would never get answers, and then she'd just be terrified, no matter where she was. She wanted to make sure, she wanted to have it. So that was quite intriguing to me. I never heard of a continuous residential study, of the paranormal for 10 years. And then one of the investigators, well, there are two that, Brad and John, two great dudes, really care for Alice, really care for the home and what's happening there. They had told me that they kind of felt that over time, that they were noticing that the house was actually, not the house like the house itself had some, energy to it, but that whatever's in the house was actually over time learning how to communicate. They were seeing that, oh, maybe over time, oh, I can do this, and so let me focus on this and different things, and that it intrigued me. And then I also noticed how there was a stigma around Alice, who owns the house, and how the town sort of looked at her and how she felt as she's walking around the town, this woman who lives in that haunted house. They're kind of, as a matter of fact, when we were filming, stepped foot in the neighbor's yard at one time across the street, and she came running out of the house. Get out of here. I know what goes on over there. I don't want it over here on my property. Like, she was angry with us, like we were going to bring it over with us, and we were just picking something up, but that was very interesting, and so I wanted to not only help them but tell that story, and that's when I got in touch with Kendall and said, hey, we should make a documentary about this place, and told him what I had in mind, and yeah, that's what we did. And I let them know from the beginning, you have to be okay with whatever's really happening here. And that's one thing I loved about them as investigators and about Alice, is they don't care if it's a ghost or not. At one point she thought maybe it was interdimensional or UFO or just energy. She doesn't know, she doesn't care, she just wants an answer. And same with the investigators. So I told them, I'm going to try to get to the bottom of this, as how I do, because they were familiar with my work. So I got real scientists involved, physicists, people who didn't believe in the paranormal, physicists, geophysicists, electrical engineers, anybody I could, structural engineers, to really go there and study the house with me. And yeah, it's about all of that whole journey. And it's right now part 1 and a part 2 is out as well. Thanks for asking.
Okay, everybody, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Then we have Bonehead Weekly with their movie review, and we'll be back with Steve Gonsalves, and Katie will be on screen with me to finish out the show.
I've saved the best for
I need to keep moving.
This'll catch him. Think what's coming to you now? Oh, that's it.
Just to play him for the boys and
Look who we got here! Got yourself in some trouble, didn't you? If you just listen.
Hey, Scarefest fans, this is Joe Lewis, Bonehead Weekly, and it's Spider-Man. Spider-Man does whatever something can. This week, we're not going to do a movie. We're going to do a series. And it only lasted 2 seasons because that's all the show creator wanted to do. And it's kid-friendly. So on here, I've mentioned several times before, I have a child. Killed some things and opened up some things. That's life. One of the things that has opened up is some of the family entertainment that I probably may have skipped over the years. And I'm a big proponent of not necessarily scary horror for kids, but just, spooky things to get them into the season, into us, into things that we're adventuresome in. And something that we both fell in love with, and it was Chad, my friend Chad and James, that told me about it, was a show called Gravity Falls. Now, I know a lot of you probably watched this. You may have watched it when you were children. It came out in 2012 on Disney. I watched it. You can watch them all on Disney Plus or Hulu. But I'd never seen one episode. I kind of knew about it. But this show has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. If you go on IMDb, it's almost 8.9 out of 10. It's highly, highly rated. It's pretty damn good. It's something that's kind of spooky, but I can watch it with my kid. It's not overly scary, but it introduces him to werewolves, vampires, other dimensional beings, all these types of things. My friend James called it Twin Peaks for children. He's really close. I think there's a little bit more spookiness to it, a little more supernatural to it, but he's kind of close when he says it's Twin Peaks for kids. Is it a downright horror show? No. But is it something that you can watch with your kids and both kind of enjoy? Absolutely. So basically, if you've never seen it, it's about these 2 twins, Dipper and Mabel Pines. And for the summer, they are sent to live with their uncle, Grunkle Stan, their great uncle, Grunkle. I think that's cool. And Grunkle Stan's actually voiced by the show creator, Alex Hirsch. Kristen Schaal and Jason Ritter do Mabel and Dipper, and they're both fantastic characters. I love them both. Linda Cardellini, Be Still My Heart, Velma from the Scooby-Doo movies. Also, John Hamm's lover in a season of Mad Men. Linda Cardellini plays Wendy, the older lady that, of course, Dipper's got a fascination with. There's so many really good characters. Seuss, Grunkle Stan, and they're not really stereotypes. You think, oh, these are stereotypical characters. And like Grunkle Stan, he doesn't treat them poorly. Is he gruff? Yeah, but he's not mean to them like you would expect. It's just a really good show. It only lasted 2 seasons, 2012 to 2016. I don't know what the thing was in between, but when interviewed about it, because apparently it's a huge following, I didn't know any of this. When interviewed about it, Alex Hirsch said, yeah, there won't be any more. That was the story. And it does it. It's unusual for a children's show because it deals with a lot of different, literally at the end of the show, there's more, I'm not giving anything away. There's an interdimensional being, but it deals with things that aren't necessarily on children's shows. And on top of that, it has one kind of long plot. Is there a monster of the week like Supernatural? Yes, there's a little bit of that. But at the same time, there is an overarching story. There is a mystery. You don't know what's happening. And you kind of get caught up in it trying to figure it out. While these twins, Dipper and Mabel, stay the summer with their grunkle. I like it a lot. There's a lot of famous people who do a lot of different voices, whether that be J.K. Simmons, Jennifer Coolidge, Nick Offerman, John DiMaggio. All these people have different voices on the show, and it's really good. I really enjoy it. So if you've never seen it and you're looking for something, T.J. Miller, if you're Alfred Molina, I'm going Stephen Root, Neil deGrasse Tyson, John Oliver, Louis C.K., Frank Welker. Anyway, if you know who these people are, check it out. I really enjoyed it. It's pretty good. Like I said, it's on Hulu or Disney Plus. Check it out. Let me know what you think. Will Forte. I know. I'll stop now. But it's a really good cast with a really well-written family show. It's nothing scary about it, but it's just spooky enough if you have a young kid like my 6-year-old. It's good, and it's nothing too scary. So I can't recommend Gravity Falls enough. I really enjoyed it. I actually really did. Like Bluey, when I was doing the Bluey panels, like you can be a Bluey fan and be an adult. I think you can be a Gravity Falls fan and be an adult too. So check it out. Let me know what you think about it. This has been Joe Lewis of Bonehead Weekly, Gravity Falls.
And welcome back, everybody. Final segment with Steve Gonsalves here on Scarefest TV. Katie, I understand you have some questions locked and loaded, probably from your mom.
No, from me. See, here's the thing. I've been bugging you for the past 15 years, and there's questions I've always wanted to ask you, like, what's your favorite Disney movie?
Ooh, Ooh, I would say it flip flops between Beauty and the Beast.
Good answer.
Aladdin, Sleeping Beauty, and Toy Story 3. Probably.
That one's so sad, though.
Yeah, but it's fluid.
It's so good.
It changes. I don't think I have an absolute favorite, as silly as that sounds. Do you have one?
Beauty and the Beast is special to me. I got to do a production of it, and I got to be Belle, and like it was like my personality for a few years. So it's always special to me. But
That's
actually,
great.
yeah. Well, it's
Lion
also,
King too.
Oh yeah. The 90s had good Disney movies. Do you still play drums? Do you have time for that at all?
Yes, I do. Not organized with a band or anything, but just by myself.
Yeah.
Keep my chops in check if I can. Try to.
Good. Don't lose that. It's always good to be playing musical instruments. So
Yes. Thank you.
So I have a question, and this is as a theater nerd. You love Beetlejuice the musical.
Yeah.
And how did you guys collaborate to do like a promo with them? Ghost Nation did. And
yes.
You got to meet Carrie Butler, and I'm so jealous.
I did. We were, well, actually, I was walking down, well, I'd seen it probably by this time. This is silly to even say, but probably like 15 or 16 times maybe by the time we'd done it. I'd gone to see it quite a bit. And one day I was actually, strangely enough, walking to the theater to see it when it was still at the Winter Garden. And I got a message that said, hey, from the show. It said, hey, thanks for all the support, which I thought was awesome of them to say, because I never tagged anybody in anything. It's just somehow they saw it. And they're like, we love your show. Like, we should collaborate. And I said, what? Okay. And I, called up the gang at Travel Channel. I said, you might not be interested in this, but there's a way to do like a little crossover with these guys. And they said, oh, it sounds awesome. And brought it up obviously to Jay and to Tango, and we're hoping they would be on board, which they were, so that was cool. But that's how it happened. It was really cool. It was fun to be there and be on that stage.
It's an awesome fucking show. And like, just Carrie Butler's been like a Broadway icon for me for 50 years. So I don't know. She's just amazing. So I was super jealous. What kind of music do you like? I'm asking the question. If there had been a Ghost Hunter Tiger Beat, I would have wanted to.
Oh God. The corny answer of everything is kind of true, as most people say, but my heart really lies in metal music, some punk, but mostly metal, death metal, thrash metal, any sort of extreme metal. That's. But also, I'm a Swiftie. I like Taylor Swift. I listen to.
We would be
pop
best
music,
friends. Fucking shit.
A lot of Broadway musicals. But mostly metal. Ben Folds 5 I still think is pretty fun to listen to. But mostly
Ghost right now. And I think I remember you saying you have seen them.
Yeah, I listen to Ghost a lot. I have seen them. I've actually seen them, luckily, a bunch of times. Yeah.
Yeah, they're my newest obsession. So yeah.
They're really good. My mom likes them too. We go see them together all the time.
Again, I've been a fangirl for a long time, and I think I remember that. So, but sorry in advance. Wes, do you have any questions? Because I could go on all day.
Well, yeah, but I'm enjoying the hell out of yours, to be honest with you. That's the kind of stuff I ask. Okay, serious paranormal question. Of the locations you've been, Now, I know people have asked you what your most favorite is or your whatever. I want to know, what is a location that you went to that you feel was underrated? In other words, it surprised you with how active, or at least seemingly active, it was compared to what you expected when you got there.
Ooh, good question. I would say one would be Bucksteep Manor, that I talk about there in the book, and because when we investigated, nothing happened, but they were saying, and there weren't really any reports from investigators, but then, we had some really crazy experiences there. USS North Carolina took me by surprise. I love that place, but that took me by surprise a bit. Yeah, there have been a few places. Birdcage Theater, quite honestly.
I remember that one.
Yeah, that place is awesome. And, we investigated the OK Corral and nothing really happened. And come to find out, it isn't even really the OK Corral. It's just like a recreation or whatever. But
I'm a big Tombstone fan, so like I had to be like in the movie. I was like, yeah, Ghost Hunters has been there. I remember that.
Yes.
Grant took pictures a lot in that one. Like I remember that.
Yep. And so we didn't expect much from that, but once we got to the Birdcage Theater, all kinds of stuff was happening. That was really awesome. And I think a lot of the private residences, because you never know what's going to happen in a private residence, and by and large, it's you can go on 10 and maybe 1 or 2 of them has some activity. So it is kind of rare for whatever reason at private residences. So you always kind of go in not expecting much. So that's always awesome when stuff's really happening and you're seeing things move around and you're hearing voices and noises and yeah, there have been a few.
What's your favorite horror movie?
Whoa!
Because you love
There's
scary
a good one.
Yes. Again, it's a fluid list, but I'd say The Thing, John Carpenter version is probably always at the very top. The Thing, Return of the Living Dead, Evil Dead 2, I would say. I love The Stuff, a movie called The Stuff. I have a lot of, there are so many that live in my heart and are on constant rotation. But I would start with those. Dawn of the Dead, of course. Maybe even Day of the Dead more so. Yeah, it's so great.
I've been really into Chopping Mall recently. That's become one of my favorites.
Of course, fantastic.
Amazing.
Barbara Crampton, she's great and everything. Reanimator is another banger, obviously. Chopping Mall is awesome.
It's a great movie.
Great movie. Yep, I love it.
What's your favorite tattoo you have? I'm sorry, Wes.
I have an actual question from the chat room.
Oh yeah, go with them. Fuck that. So.
Hey, have you ever been at a location investigating where you actually felt a sense of urgency to leave? Like you felt like you were not welcome by the powers that be?
Yeah, that has happened a few times where we've, felt uneasy. We've had some investigators really feel uneasy. I myself have felt quite uneasy at a few. But not enough to leave. We're there to offer, especially if it's a private residence, we're there partly to help comfort them. And if they see us afraid and wanting to leave a place, it's really not going to help them very much.
Just take control of your situation. Bye now.
See you. But there have been times when, for sure, we've all sort of said, hey, it's a bit heavy. Like, we should go out, and we, can excuse ourselves and go outside for a little bit, sort of let things calm down and reapproach it. But never enough to leave or get out. If it's a respect thing, we would leave for sure, but if it's just some sort of paranormal presence trying to get us to leave a place, we'll stick it out.
You've never had a dude run incident?
No. Never, not because of ghosts, because of people and bugs and stuff. Yeah. I can't say that I haven't run out of a place because I ran into a spider web. That's happened many times. Or my friends are so good to me, Jason and Tango and Sherry, they'll even, clear away spider webs for me and tell me where they are in rooms. There's one big one in that corner, so make sure you don't lean against the wall. So I have people looking out for me.
Okay, Katie, get in your tattoo question because we're going to let him go.
What's your favorite tattoo you have?
Well, I have my whole right arm sleeve is all Halloween, not the movie, but the season, jack-o'-lanterns, all that stuff. And then I have a Reanimator tattoo that I love. It's on my leg. So I'd say that one. It's Herbert West. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. He's got to come to the
Don't
show.
tell Jeffrey Combs.
Okay, everybody, this has been Scarefest TV. Steve will, of course, be at Scarefest this October, and along with his buddy Dave, and we will see you there, Steve.
See you guys. Thanks for having me.
And everybody, join us next week. We'll have Adam Green from Hatchet will be our guest. It's going to be a special episode with Chad Harlan and Joanna Hochstetter doing the interview. We'll see you next week.